welcome to No Broken Legs. I am Evan Belfiore. Joining me on the phone to join this ranting Monday edition of the Cleveland Browns is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how are you today?
I'm doing okay, brother. I'm doing okay. I'm trying to be the one Cleveland Browns fan not out on a ledge, firing everybody, throwing everybody into a lake on fire. So I'm gonna be a little bit more mellow, a little bit more calm down today, because wow, Browns fans are having a bad one today. So I'm gonna try to be a voice of reason for everybody.
All right, well, that's good, because usually I try to calm everybody down, and I'm hopping mad about yesterday. And the top of my list of things that made me angry, Kevin Stefanski, Jimmy. Something, I don't know. Something doesn't look right with his play calling. I don't know what to make of that. He's been tight at times this year in big games, and he's made, we questioned the way the offense came out against Arizona. We really liked how they came out last week, and for the most part, they seemed to do all right in the first half moving the football, but they just couldn't make any of the plays they needed to make to really put points on the board.
This would be correct. The point totals in the last three games, it's unacceptable for an NFL team expecting at least to make the playoffs. That being said, you needed one more touchdown to win this game, and on three different occasions you dialed up a play that very well should have led to a touchdown that either led to two incomplete passes or a fumble, something around those sorts. So, but I do think there were things I didn't understand. The play calling on the 3rd and 2, I didn't like the direct snap to Dearness Johnson. I don't like that play. That's got to be a handoff to Nick Chubb. And then I love the going forward on 4th and 1. I don't understand running at TJ Watt with Jack Conklin out of the game. Didn't quite make sense. I don't understand why you don't run away from him.
They had hands on Watt one-on-one for quite a bit of that game. That reminded me that reminded me a lot of, remember when Schwartz was a younger player then, J.J. Watt was still in his prime, and J.J. Watt, they just kept throwing him out there one-on-one, or they just kept throwing Schwartz against Watt one-on-one, and it was like, what are you doing? Like, he's wrecking this game. Why is there not another guy out there helping him out? And it looked like they did a little bit here and there, but they could not run the ball, Jimmy. This is the first game all season that they were just completely unable to run the ball. They got completely dominated on both sides of the ball on the line of scrimmage. They just got blown up all day.
Yeah, I mean, I think they tried to go sideways a little too much with the running game instead of straightforward. And it was the one game this year where the run game was a little less creative in the blocking scheme. Like, I know a lot of people think the Browns' run game is very vanilla and very simple, and to a point it is, but Kevin Stefanski normally does a lot of fancy stuff with the blocking on the zone run, read, screen, run plays. There's a lot of double blocks where you let one guy go free on the defensive line, but it's fine because you've completely eliminated a player and opened up a hole for a running back to go through. And they just weren't able to make that happen. I don't know if it was Conklin not being there, because I think for a guy who's actually a guard, I think Hance is doing okay playing backup tackle.
But Hance has been out there for previous weeks. He was out there last week against Denver because Conklin was out.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think the running, normally where the Browns run the best is through the middle of the line, and they just weren't able to do that. And, I mean, it was just weird. I mean, kudos to Pittsburgh's defense. They were not going to let Cleveland open up the holes they normally open up to run through. I think there's still, as we talked about, I still would have rather saw the Browns only score 10 points and Nick Chubb get 25 carries instead of 16. Like, I still think they didn't, if they were going to lose this game like that, it still should have been trying to do what you do best. And they weren't doing that, but the run game just, schematically, it didn't seem quite as creative as it has in the past, and it was so quick to get away from it. It was really a problem, I felt. Maybe it was Stefanski being tight. I don't know. Maybe Chubb wasn't all the way back healthy. I don't know, but the run game just did not look as explosive because normally there's at least a sliver of a hole for Nick Chubb to get through, and that wasn't there very much. He got hit behind the line of scrimmage and right at the line of scrimmage a lot.
Yeah,
Most of the times he had the ball.
The Browns look like they got big brothered out there. Pittsburgh just looked like they wanted to win that game more.
I don't disagree with you, but the highest paid tight end of 2021 has to catch that ball and walk into the end zone. There's no nothing. The throw was a little bit high. It was a little bit high. The guy had both thumbs in his palm on the ball with all of his fingers above the football. He's making $8 million. He is the highest paid tight end in the NFL in the year 2021. He has to catch that football. So that's seven instead of three.
Hooper is so unathletic.
Yeah, I mean, that drastically changes the game. Like, he has to catch that ball. I won't hear anything about that pass needs to be better. You're the highest paid tight end in the NFL. Catch the fucking football. There's no nothing. He has to catch that ball. Why in the world Odell stopped to jump to catch that football? I don't understand. Just keep running and catch the damn thing in the end zone. You had both secondary members beat. You had a line on both of them. They only got close because you slowed down. Just keep running and catch the ball in the end zone, man.
Well, that actually.
But I don't disagree with you.
If I was going to point the finger at players that I think kind of quit yesterday, OBJ and Jarvis Landry, unfortunately, would be at the top of that list because Landry just that ball it was the first quarter, I think, that Baker threw over the middle that he didn't even make an attempt at. And the one you just mentioned with OBJ, which they didn't even try. They just sort of stopped. And we saw that with Schwartz earlier in the season on the Baker interception that he got hurt on. Okay, that's a rookie mistake. Schwartz is a rookie. These are two of the highest paid wide receivers in football. And they were just embarrassing yesterday. Landry had drops. He had the huge fumble that turned the game. OBJ had that screen pass, Jimmy. When I saw him catch that ball and immediately get tackled by all those guys, even though he had a chance to get a head of steam going, he doesn't have it anymore. He just does not have the speed to get open. And everybody's saying Baker's not looking his way. Show me the clip of OBJ running free that Baker should be throwing him.
Yeah, I mean, shame on Baker for missing him on the two throws in the Vikings game. But other than those two throws in the Vikings game, we haven't seen it. I don't understand. I know OBJ's thing is the signature jumping catches. He was not engaged enough. He did not need to stop running and try to jump and catch that ball. He had position. All he had to do was keep running and catch that ball in the end zone and do a Thriller dance, and the Browns win the game.
He was too busy on that play. He was too busy worried about getting hit. He made a business decision there, and that had me really fired up.
Yeah.
And is getting me fired up right now.
I know.
And I don't know what is OBJ making a business decision for, because right now when this season ends and the Browns cut his ass, ain't nobody going to sign him.
Well, it will be a business decision of what am I willing to still play football for? For those of you that don't know, we've talked about it a little bit. Some places talk about it. A lot of places don't talk about it because they don't want you to know. Odell Beckham is getting paid $18.5 million this year. He is the 7th or 8th highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. With the exception of Kenny Golladay and Allen Robinson, who are close to him and what they're making this year, everybody else on that list in the top 10 are premier playmakers for their teams. In fact, I would argue that all the rest of the guys in that top 10 on that list absolutely catch that ball, and their team goes in and scores a touchdown to win that game. So I don't know, Mary Kay Cabot put out a thing, said OBJ should ask to be traded. Who in the fuck is going to trade for OBJ and pay him $18 million?
I am going to be so happy when the trade deadline passes and this ridiculous story can just go away.
Nobody is...
I'm gonna do it. Dennis from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Newsflash, assholes. Nobody wants him. Nobody wants him. He's a circus and he doesn't perform. And I've questioned whether he's one of those guys that adversely affects locker rooms and team environments. Remember how Cam Newton said his aura would have affected the New England locker room and how smart everybody said Bill Belichick was for just going with Jones, and if you're going to go with Jones, you got to cut Newton. And everybody said what a great job that was by Belichick. Does the OBJ aura just affect winning?
It's certainly possible. He hasn't been part of very many wins since the playoff game.
I think they're expecting him. It feels like maybe this was the game that the Browns realized that OBJ doesn't have it. Like, it just feels like we have been waiting and waiting and waiting. And, just one more game and OBJ is going to break out. One more game. And I think the players on that team, and maybe Stefanski and Baker, and maybe that's what's going on with the offense that has their heads all fucked up right now. But maybe they just realized that, oh, shit, we're not as good as we thought we were because our guys aren't as good as we thought they were.
Yeah, maybe, and maybe it comes back to like you said, it looked like the Browns got big brothered. It looked like the Steelers wanted it more, whatever that means. And I mean, maybe that's what it was, because there wasn't a lot of, there weren't a lot of Browns players fighting for extra yardage. Pittsburgh gang tackled all day long. Cleveland didn't really do that. Why did nobody come down and try to put a block on somebody when Jarvis was being tackled by 9 people when he fumbled that football? Like, they didn't seem to be real cohesive, but it doesn't change the fact that they still should have won the game with those 3 catches. Like, plain and simple, like, it doesn't change that fact.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh did not play great in that football game, with the exception of in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Kudos to them. We said we weren't worried about them running the ball. They got 20 extra yards than they usually get per game running the ball, and those 20 yards made a difference.
Oh man, so they just bulldozed the Browns' defensive tackles.
Yep.
I mean, they just had their way with them, and it looked at times like the defense had never seen a team run the ball out of an RPO.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to hand it off. I didn't know they could do that on that play.
Well, to be fair, most teams don't do that to them, so they might not have known.
But normally they don't do that because the interior of defensive line isn't 7 yards downfield when the running back gets the ball.
Yep, I agree. But we talked about it. There was no doubt Mike Tomlin was going to have the Steelers team fired up, and you couldn't make mistakes, and they made mistakes. Jarvis fumbles. Nick Chubb has a stupid false start. Rashard Higgins has a stupid false start. Harrison with that damn hit out of bounds. Like, there were just enough dumb plays.
Just another really dumb play from Harrison, who's supposed to be a leader on this defense, and it's just like, it's a mess. Like the wide receivers were calling out Landry and OBJ. Higgins had a drop.
Yep.
Dearness Johnson dropped 2 balls. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
Yep.
And that's why I wanted to start talking about Stefanski. Like, the team just didn't look right yesterday in a lot of ways.
Yeah. There's no way to say it. Like, they did not look as prepared and dialed in as they should have been for this game, coming off the rest, with Baker coming back. Guys were supposed to be healthy enough to play, and they did not look fired up. They did not look dialed in. You brought something up, during the game. Why does Miles keep getting this series off in the third quarter where teams just go right down the field and score on the Browns?
Oh, I think that's part of their normal rotation, and they probably do that so that Garrett can have something left in the fourth quarter. What I'm worried about is, we saw this with the Cavs and LeBron. Whenever LeBron sat down, even when they had Kyrie and Kevin Love, they fucking lost. And it just seems like every game in the third quarter, Garrett gets that series off, and the other team just marches right down the field.
Yep, I completely agree. I do think the loss of John Johnson at the end of the first half, I think that's a big deal.
Newsome got dinged up again. Ward was out.
So the secondary was beat up, but still,
But I don't feel like. But again, this can lead into our Baker Mayfield discussion. Like, a lot could have gone better in the secondary, but the secondary isn't why they lost this game.
No, well, that's something I want to talk about real quick before we get into Baker, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So you hear there's once again all the talk. The defense is horrible. Fire Joe Woods. Blah blah blah. Ben Roethlisberger threw for 266 yards and 1 touchdown on a miraculous play that had nothing to do with Ben Roethlisberger. Of those 266 yards, 51 of them came on that slant at the end of the game. So in the actual course of the game, he only threw for a little over 200 yards. Najee Harris runs for a little over 100 yards. Like, the defense played really good. Like, they played good enough to win the football game. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But I would still like to see the defense be a little bit more aggressive. I would like to see more blitzes coming behind Myles Garrett to really try to confuse the offensive line and the running back on who to chip and who to protect. But I agree with you. As much as we've beaten up the defense in the secondary, they were not the problem today. They did what they were supposed to do. It should have been a win for the Browns.
To further your point on the defense needing to be more aggressive, there was a 3rd down throw, and Greedy Williams was playing defense on the outside, and all the receiver had to do was run to the stick, turn around, and Roethlisberger hit him, and it was a 1st down. And that's a moment where you know they're not going all the way down the field on these plays, and you're playing 2 deep safeties anyway. Why is your cornerback not right at the stick making sure that receiver can't just... I mean, Jimmy, I could have run that route. There was nothing to it. He just ran downfield, turned around, and Roethlisberger timed it up. Like, you can't do that.
Yep.
Especially when, God damn it. Now we're bitching about Joe Woods, and it's like, yeah, because he doesn't blitz enough, especially for a quarterback that doesn't move. But at the same time, they were getting pressure on him. They weren't getting home, but they were forcing him to throw the ball quickly. So I don't know how blitzing changes that. I would like to see, to your point, I would like to see them find ways to get Garrett moved around. Like, I thought that was something we were going to see. And every time he's just lined up on the one side, and just not a lot of creativity there from Joe Woods. But I don't want to bash him too much. They gave up 15 points.
Yeah, I agree.
If our defense gives up 15 points the rest of the season, nobody's going to be bitching about Joe Woods being fired. Like, that's just that'll go away.
Yep.
So for the worst take of the day, Jimmy, we'll start talking about Baker Mayfield now. Dustin Fox, who certainly knows more about football than I ever will, but he's a complete fucking idiot because he said Case Keenum would have won that game for the Browns yesterday, which seems like a really dumb thing to say considering the following statistics. Keenum went 21 of 33 for 199 yards and a 6-yard per attempt. He did have the touchdown. Baker Mayfield went 20 of 31 for 225 with a 7.26 yards per attempt. That was with 6 drops by his wide receivers and 2 balls that your best receivers didn't even try to fucking catch. So, and they had no running game when they had a running game last week. So, Jimmy, I'm going to put you on the spot here. What the fuck is Dustin Fox talking about? What is Case Keenum doing in that game that alters the result in any way?
I don't know. I don't understand it, and nobody can explain it. Nobody can explain to me what Case Keenum would have done differently, because Case Keenum isn't throwing the ball down the field at all. Pittsburgh's defense was pretty aggressive with Baker back there. They would have been even more aggressive with Case Keenum, because then they really don't have to worry about balls being thrown down the field. Like, I don't understand why Case Keenum being in the game makes a difference. Like, I don't get it. Nobody can explain it. It's just so easy to say, well, if Keenum plays, they win. Why?
Like, I mean, maybe they're thinking that they'll be better with the short passing game or all that stuff, but like, you can't, Pittsburgh, you're not getting away with that shit against Pittsburgh's defense. Like, they live to play against teams that aren't trying to go downfield.
I don't get it. I don't know how they win the game. Like, even, like, it's always funny when villains flip a script. Like Colin Cowherd yesterday saw all the bashing of Baker. It was like, man, it'd be nice if catch those perfectly thrown balls by Baker Mayfield, and I loved it. Like, I thought it was great. I thought it was absolutely great for Colin to flip the switch on Cleveland media. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, Colin's normally horribly wrong about Baker because he just, and that kind of goes into Ron Brown on our Facebook group is talking about Baker as an elite quarterback. Who's ever said Baker's an elite quarterback? Like, even we were both more high on him coming into this season than I think most Cleveland fans, and even we had him, what? You had him somewhere like 10 to 15. I had him like 8 to 13. Now, clearly, he's 20 or worse right now. He does have the shoulder injury, but the way he's been playing, he's not that. But I don't know how anybody with eyes could watch that game yesterday and go, nah, Baker Mayfield's the problem there. That's the problem.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand. I mean, I don't know if it's this thought of, I'm going to go on a little trip here. I'll try to keep it quick. I don't want to get us too off topic. But it's this thought of Baker Mayfield came out in this draft class of these quarterbacks. Well, we had talked about maybe you should take Josh Allen simply because he's a big guy and he's going to get beat up in Cleveland. Not because of what his talent is. Josh Allen has won 2 playoff games. He's also playing with a team that was so good Tyrod Taylor could go to the playoffs with him. So that matters. Nobody would have taken Lamar at number 1. Baltimore's won 1 playoff game, the same as Baker Mayfield. And we see what Rosen and Darnold have become. So I don't know if it's just because he was a number 1 draft pick and we want him to be this premier elite quarterback and everybody's bashing him. Like, Baker Mayfield is good enough to win with this roster if the roster does their job. If the number 1 highest paid tight end in the NFL and the number 7th or 8th highest paid wide receiver in the NFL catch footballs in critical spots, the Cleveland Browns win that football game yesterday. That is not Baker Mayfield's fault. Those throws were good enough to at least – the Hooper ball absolutely should have been caught, and it would have been nice to see Odell at least attempt to catch that pass. I don't know. I mean, we've seen Jarvis make that catch on that 4th down play over and over again, so that's why we think he should have caught it. Like, that was a tough catch, but he did have 2 hands on it, and normally when Jarvis gets 2 hands on a ball, he catches it. That was his first lost fumble in 3 years. So, I mean, it was kind of out of character for Jarvis, but this is the game where Jarvis Landry can't make those mistakes, right? Those have to happen. I don't understand I don't understand what Browns fans want the Browns organization to do at quarterback. Like, do you not even want them to franchise Baker? Like, you just want to go with Case Keenum and try to draft another quarterback? Because whoever the quarterback is, the team's going to be good enough to win enough games to not have a high enough draft pick to draft a really good quarterback if you get lucky and hit on a quarterback, because we all know how that is. So I guess I just don't understand Browns fans bitching about Baker. I don't get
but
it.
this is the same thing we see every year. They want a coach fired, but they don't know. They have no thought is even given to who's going to come in and replace them. And okay, Keenum's probably one of the better, if not among the best backups in the league, but there's a reason he's a backup. There's a reason teams have passed on him and decided to give Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and the rest of those guys chances and opportunities instead of him. Okay, you get rid of Baker and now you have Keenum. I don't see how that's an upgrade in any way. And
it's
let's
not.
say, okay, so people say, all right, we'll go draft somebody or go get somebody. Who?
Exactly.
Like, even what is Trevor Lawrence isn't taking this team to the playoffs this year. He's certainly not going to be a Super Bowl ready quarterback for at least 2 or 3 years. This is just dumb, unreasonable fans, Jimmy. These are the people that I really don't like listening to. This is why I don't listen to call-in shows for sports, because these are the types of people that call in. They're the ones that had nothing but excuses for Browns teams year after year after year that were fucking garbage. And they'd be like, no, man, that guy, and that guy that were shit last year, they're going to be good this year, and we're going to make a run at the playoffs. Jimmy, people were telling me this was a playoff team during the 2 seasons they went 0-31. More than half the people I asked about the Browns were like, "Oh yeah," like, and this isn't like people that we know that are like into sports, just like the guy at the butcher shop, the cashier somewhere. Yeah. Like everybody was super positive, and it's like they might not win a game. So those are the same people now that are saying move off of Baker Mayfield. And again, my question to you is, who you getting? Who you getting that's better? And we should remember, he's playing with a significant injury. So Baker with a fucked up shoulder is the equivalent of Case Keenum. So we're going to move forward with Case Keenum? What fucking logic? What the fuck?
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Who does anybody think?
So here is something that I just couldn't stay away from 92.3 this morning. I had to listen. I
listened to Daryl Ryder because I like the dangerous one.
Yeah, I had to listen some. I just had to. So what do you think? I mean, do you think Van Pelt needs to call plays and Stefanski just needs to focus on the game management side of head coaching?
It is interesting that you mentioned that, because I actually have that here as something I forgot to ask you. Do you think that all of this in the second year, the injuries, whatever's going on with OBJ, I don't think, I think they're expecting him to be somebody that he's not anymore. Is he just sort of buckling under the pressure a little bit here? And this isn't, let me be very clear, I'm not calling for Kevin Stefanski to be fired. I think he might be faltering under the weight of what's going on right now, and I think he will work his way through this eventually, and it will make him a better coach in the long run. It's going to be really shitty to go through this, but like you asked, yeah, I think he should consider give up play calling to try to get control of this team and get them back on the right track.
I kind of agree. I think from the way it seems, Van Pelt and Stefanski are very much on the same page for what they want the offense to look like. So I don't think it would be a drastic change, but maybe it would just make things easier on Kevin Stefanski, and maybe it would let him kind of have a more wider picture of what's going on during the game, where he can say, "Hey, that's actually not working. Why do I keep calling run plays at TJ Watt? Why?" Like maybe if he wasn't calling the play by play, maybe he could get a little bit wider view of what's happening during the game, and they could get a little bit more control, because there were really just a few moments. Like, I don't understand. Like, I've watched the clip over and over again. One of my favorite Cleveland Browns fans on Twitter, Roberto Shenanigans. He's a great follow. If you're on Twitter, check him out. We talked about it. Why in the world did they not challenge that punt that clearly looked like it went off the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, what was that all about? It looked like it hit him in the shin, although that angle wasn't the best angle, but you figure there were additional angles to replay it. But yeah,
that ball definitely changed trajectory. Is that something he's not dialed in on because he's worried about what my next 3 plays are? Like, I just wonder, because it just looks like there doesn't seem like right now the offense is gelling to where you can see what he's trying to do schematically, play to play. Like, I don't understand why you have Nick Chubb and you continue to throw the ball on first down. I don't get that, because then that eliminates a lot of your best second down plays. If you're in 2nd and 10, you can't really run as many screens and draws and zone plays that you like to run. So I just think they need to run the ball more on first down. But I just wonder if Van Pelt should call plays. I don't know if he should.
We've talked about this before, where was it you had mentioned it, I think, after the Chicago and Houston games, and then you've mentioned it additionally since then about how Stefanski seems to get caught up in that I know what you know that I know that I'm going to do this thing that we all know about, and I'm going to outsmart you. Man, just with the first down runs to that point, Stefanski just seems like he's very quick to try to outsmart everybody instead of just, this is what we do, and we're going to do it, and you're going to have to stop it. Like, we have all this other stuff that we can do off of it, but we're going to come out and we're going to try and run the ball down your throat and, hit a couple of those 10 to 15 yard passes, and we're going to march down the field and just stick it to you. And they haven't come out like that much. And to your point about Stefanski giving up play calling, the offense has looked at its best the last 2 weeks during the scripted drives. And then after that, there doesn't seem to be much rhythm. There's moments where they're running plays off of plays that they ran previously, but it doesn't. There doesn't seem to be, it seems to be all tactics, no strategy.
Yeah, so to that. So as a Browns fan that's watched a lot of Browns games this year, any Browns fans who's watched games is going to understand the play I'm talking about. Like, they keep running this play where they take one of the fastest guys on the field, be it Felton or Schwartz, and they have them sprint into the backfield and then sprint back out away from the play, and they do nothing with it ever. Just throw the ball one time. Just throw the damn wheel route. One time, throw it to him. You've got him running full sprint at the snap of the ball. Just throw it to him. See what happens. Stop using it as a decoy. Use it. Use the play. Because if I was a defensive coordinator, I would say, hey, every time they do this, they never throw him the ball. Do not focus on that player. They're not going to throw it there because they never do. And they never gain yards on the play because they never make that play. So I just wonder if you went to Van Pelt calling plays, if you wouldn't get a little bit more focus on the offense of, this is what I want to do. This is what we're going to do. If we can do this, this, and this, then we can do this, this, and this off of it. We can mix it in, and it would maybe look a little bit more cohesive. Then sometimes it looks like plays are coming out of different playbooks. It just doesn't look cohesive like it did at times last year, like it does during the scripted plays.
Yeah, the play where Hooper dropped the pass, a super hidden play that I texted you about was that second down run.
Yep.
It just, man, like as soon as they lined up, I went, all right, well, Chubb's going to get the ball here, and he's going nowhere because there's no push, and Pittsburgh was ready for it, and they sold out to stop it. And that set them up on third down. It just, the whole thing, something's not right with the play calling. Something's not right with the Browns in general. And maybe we all just need to take a step back, and I think as fans, we came into this season with expectations that were unrealistic. And the word that I'm going to use is inertia. The Browns had their first winning season last year after 12 straight losing seasons. We can talk about how the team doesn't know how to win yet on the field, but they also have a front office and a coaching staff. Like, they're just... I just, as an organization and as a fan base, it feels like that inertia is like there's still pull. Like there's still pull down. And it's tough to overcome that after one season. Especially when you've had a lot of injuries and at key positions and just guys aren't performing. And I'd asked a couple of weeks ago, is this going to be the Browns season from hell? And it certainly continues to look that way.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think you're wrong. I think all in all they have to learn to win, but I agree with you. Like, the second down play there wasn't good. And, something just schematically, like, we continue to try to run with three tight ends on the field, and we don't always run behind the three tight ends. Like, I don't understand that. But try to play active with the three tight ends. It might just work.
Well, they did on that. There was a Harrison Bryant sighting, Jimmy.
It was a beautiful play.
It was based right off of what you said, and I think it's the only time they did it the entire game.
Yep, and then it's okay. Like, you can put Nick Chubb in the backfield in shotgun spread and hand him the ball. You're allowed. You don't have to use him as a blocker. Like, you can just hand him the ball from shotgun. You're allowed to do that.
Every time they line up with Baker spread out, with nobody in the backfield, I just want to bang my head against the wall.
Yep,
There was it was the Baker got sacked. I think it was that third down play after the second down run where Baker drops back to pass and he gets sacked. And you look at it on the replay from the behind quarterback camera, and it's, none of the receivers got open. None of the line did not hold up at all. And it's, what can a quarterback do in that situation? I'm not talking about Baker specifically. I'm talking about what can any quarterback do when the pocket just completely collapses. There's guys coming at you from multiple angles, and there's just nobody open. That you just have to eat a sack there. And I just felt that was indicative of what happened with the offense. There was just no signs of life. I don't know. They just felt very malaised. Like somebody shot their dog before the game or something. Like they just seemed they did not have the energy, and they couldn't match what Pittsburgh was doing.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, Browns fans. So that was not what anybody was expecting. Well, actually, it kind of was. We kind of thought it was going to be a close game, regardless. Couple plays go the Browns' way.
Certainly didn't think Pittsburgh would run the ball like that.
No, not at all. I didn't see that coming. But kudos to them. But here's the thing: you can go to Cincinnati next week and win that game, and completely pivot for the season.
Yeah, like the Bengals just lost to the fucking Jets.
Like if you
the NFL's so weird this year.
If you go into Cincinnati and beat Cincinnati, you're now tied with the other two teams for second place in the division, depending on what happens with Baltimore, and then Pittsburgh's got Chicago, which they could lose to Chicago if Matt Nagy misses another game. Who knows? But I did not feel this week was like a must-win game for the fan base. We would rather go I think a lot of Browns fans would be fine winning 2 games every year as long as it was beating the Steelers. I think there are a lot of Browns fans that feel that way. That if we just beat the Steelers 2 times every year, it would be fine. I didn't feel this game was a must-win. I feel like you have to beat Cincinnati next week. You have to get everything right. You have to beat Cincinnati. Because if you beat Cincinnati, your trajectory for the season is still okay. You're still okay if you beat Cincinnati. If you lose to Cincinnati, whoa, boy, is that going to be a bad podcast. But, you can... if you beat Cincinnati, you can right the ship and be okay. Maybe Odell becomes inactive. I don't know. I hope Donovan Peoples-Jones makes it back. I didn't see if he was going on IR or not because they were clearly missing another playmaker out there. This was really the first game we've seen Higgins and Baker play where they had a little bit of they weren't necessarily on the same page. He doesn't normally drop balls. Baker throws him. So,
well, I'm sure a lot of the freak out, we haven't even mentioned it, but the Higgins drop, he got hit by Joe Hayden. The Landry fumble was caused by Joe Schobert.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right.
All right. Well, I feel better right now already after ranting a lot. We should probably wrap up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess I'll echo what you said about moving forward. If they can turn around and beat Cincinnati, everybody will be back on track. But I'm still very concerned about how the O-line holds up in pass protection overall.
Yeah.
And they turned around and they couldn't do anything on the D-line. They just got bullied. They got bullied on the D. They got bullied by Pittsburgh at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and that's just not supposed to happen with this team. If they come out and play against Cincy like they played against Pittsburgh and lay another egg, then the problems are significantly deeper than we thought. And maybe this is an attrition thing where they just don't know what it takes to be at the top and to win at that level consistently. And we talked earlier when Jedrick Wills was in and out of the lineup, some of the Browns staff, there was whispers that he needed to be tougher. Maybe he's not the only one.
Yep.
I'm still bullish on the Browns long term, Jimmy.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, I don't like maybe it's just because the Browns fans were so excited for this season that there are a lot of Browns fans who, like yourself, like we talked a lot, like I had the fortune, I was at the stadium for the one win in the Hugh Jackson era. I was also at the stadium for the Johnny Manziel win. Like I was in the Factory of Sadness, man. I was there for all the bad. But I feel like maybe there are a lot of Browns fans who haven't really been into the team during all of the losing, which is fine, who have now kind of jumped back in. Yeah, exactly. Like you said, there were plenty of Sundays where you went on long walks and hikes during Browns games.
Yeah, I specifically, one of those years during that stretch, we had like 70-degree weather the whole November. I don't think I watched a Browns game for like a month. And I missed nothing.
Yeah, but I do think there might be a lot of Browns fans who haven't seen or don't remember or didn't actually see how bad the play was with guys like Cody Kessler and DeShone Kizer. And now you're getting to this point, and they want the Browns to be Ohio State, right? They want the Browns to win 56-0, dominate on every aspect of the game. That's just not feasible in the NFL, especially not in the AFC. But for Browns fans to say this team is already underperformed, you've lost one game to a team you should have beat. That's it. Like this Steelers game is the first loss you've had this year to a team you should have beat. Like they can still be perfectly okay for the season as long as they get right against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Now
I mean, the playoffs they're still definitely fighting for a playoff spot. We took them off the list of division winner a couple weeks ago, just with the injuries and how they were playing. We're like, they're not going to be able to stack up enough wins to win the division, but they can still make the playoffs. And really, if the Browns make the playoffs this year, Jimmy, would that be considered a failure?
I think for a lot of Browns fans, it might be. To us, reasonable.
I agree with you, and I think that's insane.
Exactly. But I think to most sane Browns fans, no. Going to the playoffs 2 years in a row, this season is a success. Plain and simple, because you don't know if you make it to the playoffs, anything can happen. It's not a series. It's a one-game thing. Like, if you make it, anything can happen.
Well, what if they win 10 games but miss the playoffs?
So that means they lose 3 more games the rest of the season?
All right, say they win 9. Say they win 9 or 10 games and miss the playoffs. Is the season still a failure? Is putting up your second winning season in 13 years, that's a failure? Like, no. I think people are being way too binary when they look at these things. And it's like, it's either awesome or it's shit. And
right. It can be in the middle somewhere.
If the Browns go 9-8, are we going to be disappointed? Yeah. Will I have thought they underachieved on the season? Absolutely. Will I call it a failed season? No. They've done something they don't do. They win games. Like, that's just what we ask them to do, is win games. So maybe that's where our expectation needs to be, because I don't know, man. I don't know if they're going to get to 9 or 10 wins the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, it's the offense has got to get figured out. The offense has got to get figured out. They've got to figure out a way to get in the end zone. They got to figure out a way to get touchdowns on the board, and then I think they'll be okay. I think it's going to come in bunches. I guess I'm going to be very critical of the Cleveland Browns next week. I expected a Bengals letdown after the huge win against Baltimore. I did not have big enough stones to bet the Jets money line. I looked at it. I just couldn't. I did not have enough balls to do it, but I thought there was a chance. But if Mike White and the New York Jets can score in the 30s against Cincinnati,
it's just everybody calm down about Mike White. Like,
I'm just saying.
Speaking of like overreactions and fans being ridiculous and media being ridiculous.
But I'm just saying, if the Jets were able to move the ball and score pretty easily in that game in bunches, if Cleveland only scores like 10 points next week, you might not be able to let me on a hot mic, brother. Like it could be
Well,
bad.
There is also when you play Baltimore the next week, you generally don't play as well as you normally do. And it is one of the things that I respect about the Baltimore Ravens that gives me just a feeling in the pit of my stomach that makes me want to throw up because I hate saying nice things about them. And because that's the organization that we should have had all these years. And here we are still trying to muddle it out and get to that level as a franchise. And we were hoping it was going to be this year, and it looks like we're just going to have to take a breath and look at it happening over the next couple of years instead of this year. And that sucks. It sucks, Jimmy.
But there is, I mean...
But at least it's just football. There are more important things.
There's a lot of football left still, though. The Browns can easily turn this season around, and this could all be nonsense in 7 weeks. So we'll see where we get to.
Right on. All right, Jimmy. Well, thanks for talking it out. You had a calming influence, as you had hoped.
No place I'd rather be, brother.
All right, and thank you for listening. Hopefully we'll see the Browns play better next week against Cincy. For Jimmy Champ, I'm Evan Belfiore, and we are No Broken Legs.
Every action has a repercussion. Lyrical bullets don't make me get the bussin'. Representing